Hello, Oscar watchers. If you are looking for a video on Oscar predictions that's less than 21 minutes and more than 20 minutes, you've come to the right place. I'm Marcus James Dixon with Gold Derby. This is Daniel Montgomery, and we are going to be talking about the 2020 Oscars in 20 minutes, 20 seconds. So, Daniel, we don't have a lot of time here. Let's get started. What are we?
I have the timer on. We are at 25 seconds, so we better get to it.
What are we picking for Best Picture?
I think we both have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I think it's been doing great all season. It hasn't really missed anything except the editing nomination, but that's the worst miss it's had all season. It won at the Golden Globes, won at Critics' Choice. Those are not industry groups, so we won't necessarily know for sure. But right now, pending the guilds, I'm going with Once Upon a Time.
I also think it's Quentin's time that one of his movies wins Best Picture. He kind of has an IOU, and if that narrative gets out, which I think it will, I think that'll help him. It's also probably the most seen movie of all 9 of these because it came out so early. It came out in the summer, so we know that the voters have watched it. Whereas 1917, which I have in second place. Have they watched it? I mean, clearly some of them have. It got 10 nominations, but I don't know. Do you think that matters? If a movie opens earlier, that it'll have more chances that the voters will see it, and then thus it will possibly do better in the winners?
I think theoretically, but I feel like all of these have been seen enough. Just judging from the nominations, when 1917 got that makeup and hairstyling nomination, that visual effects nominations, clearly the Academy saw it because those were nominations I wasn't even expecting it to get. So all of these films that are really in contention have a lot of nominations. So yeah, they've all been seen by the right people.
Mm-hmm. And so do you think 1917 is in second place?
I have Parasite in second place. I feel like that's our Moonlight this year, potentially. If there is some division among the other contenders, that's your kind of consensus choice that if and your Spotlight, that kind of film, where if it's not your number 1, it's your number 2, your number 3. It's not going to be a film necessarily that falls really low on a lot of ballots. It seems universally either loved or liked a lot. So I think that's the spoiler right now.
I do have Parasite in my top 3 as well. And, the fact that Bong got in for director and it got production design and 6 nominations overall, that's so good for a foreign language film. We almost never see that. The question is, since it is up for foreign language or international film, will that kind of given out for the Oscar voters to say, well, I'm voting for it there. I don't need to vote for it for Best Picture. That's possibly what happened a year ago with Roma.
Yeah, that could happen to Parasite, but that preferential ballot, I don't want to rule out a foreign, because on a plurality vote, where they're just picking the winner, they can say, okay, I'm picking Parasite here, so I won't pick it there. But if they don't pick it for number 1 in picture because they're picking it for foreign film, they can still rank it second or third or fourth. If they're ranking their favorites, if you're looking at this ballot and you're like, okay, I don't want to give it to Parasite because I'm already voting for it somewhere else, but you don't like the 8 other movies more than it, I don't think you're going to rank it last. So I think it's still in it to win it. It's such a revolutionary performance for a foreign film, especially a Korean film, that it only looks kind of disappointing. Its Oscar nominations relative to last year's Roma. It's only because of Roma that it even looks the slightest bit disappointed.
I wonder if Parasite was on Netflix. Would it get 10 nominations as opposed to 6?
Probably. I mean, it would have gotten more, I think, just because Netflix has more money than Neon does, and Neon getting it in as much as it did is a huge coup for that studio.
It's interesting that the movies we have in second and third do not have acting nominations. Parasite in 1917, and it's not. There's not a rule that says you have to have an acting nomination if you want to win Best Picture. Slumdog Millionaire was able to do that. Lord of the Rings did that. But it definitely helps if you have acting nominations, if the acting branch is behind you. And neither of those were able to get it. But Joker got an acting nomination, which, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you mentioned the two films this century that have won Best Picture without acting nominations, and just as many films this century have won without directing nominations, which used to seem like a huge deal. So I think it does potentially matter, but maybe not. It's hard to say how dire it is.
And one film that got an acting nomination and an editing nomination and directing and screenplay and picture is Joker. And 11 total. It's more nominations than anything else this year. And why are we not predicting it to win if it has everything you need to win? I have it in fourth place. I don't know where you have it.
I have it in fifth place, and it's weird. The only two films that have acting, writing, directing, editing are Joker and The Irishman. I have The Irishman in fourth. So the two films that have everything, quote unquote, are my fourth and fifth film. And I'm guessing your fourth and fifth film just kind of flipped. So, I feel like, The Irishman's starting to look like Lincoln to me, a film that everybody respects but doesn't have a whole lot of love. And it maybe wins one or two things below the line, but it's not going to take the top award. Or it could be Gangs of New York from Scorsese, which was also nominated 10 times and lost all 10 of them. That could happen as well. So it's hard to see. It keeps getting tons of nominations and not winning. So, and Joker, the fact that it's getting this nomination feels partly like maybe the reward, because I know it's going to be really divisive. I don't know how many people voting for it for Best Picture nomination are actually thinking about voting for it to win, but who knows? I've been surprised before.
There is online, at least on film Twitter, which I hate that term, there is a lot of backlash to Joker, but we don't see that on the awards front. You don't see that, it wins. Joaquin Phoenix is winning everywhere that he's nominated, and the composer is winning everywhere. And, like I said, 11 nominations. Sometimes the backlash that you see online does not equate to awards, especially the Oscars.
Yeah, and actually it sometimes backfires, I think, because I think a lot of the Green Book win last year was the Academy telling film Twitter and sort of the people who didn't like the film, shut up, don't tell me what to like, and they voted for Green Book, a lot of it. So I think there was a backlash to the backlash from the kind of, the pros in the industry who are like, well, you don't get to dictate what I think is the best picture, and so they Green Book.
We saw that at the Emmys for the final year of Game of Thrones when everyone just started attacking Game of Thrones. I'm like, no, the Academy, the Television Academy loves the show. Ignore the backlash. It's still going to get, a ton of nominations. And of course it did.
That was slightly different because it didn't have any competition. Like literally everything that could have beaten it, delayed their seasons and got completely out of the way so that it wouldn't have to go up against that final season of Game of Thrones.
Well, the 5 movies we mentioned, I think those are the 5 that can win, although probably only the first 3 can win. But the other nominations, we should mention Jojo Rabbit, Marriage Story, Little Women, and Ford v. Ferrari. Of those, and Jojo has 6 nominations, Marriage Story has 6, Little Women has 6, Ford has 4. I think if this was 10, 15 years ago when there was only 5 nominations for Best Picture, we wouldn't see those 4 in, but they're in now. That's great. None of them got a Best Director nomination, which is, telling, because as you said, only 2 films have won Best Picture without a directing nomination?
Yeah, this century, Argo, and last year, Green Book, which is what makes me wary of Jojo Rabbit. It's the one thing in that bottom 4 that I think could theoretically do it, because it looks a lot like Green Book on paper. It got a surprise editing nomination. It didn't get a directing nomination, but its director got a screenplay nomination. It got an acting nomination for Scarlett Johansson, and Green Book, of course, had 2 acting nominations, and Mahershala Ali won. Jojo Rabbit actually has more nominations than Green Book had, and Green Book won Best Picture, so I wouldn't entirely count out Jojo Rabbit. It's this kind of feel-good movie that also feels important to a certain degree because it's about World War II, and it's sort of a commentary on hate and propaganda. So it feels very timely. So I think that's the one film out of the other 4 that is still alive, and we are rounding the 10-minute mark in this combo.
Okay, so we should move on. Best director, I have Sam Mendes. He did surprise me at the Globes. I'm not gonna lie. He tied at the Critics' Choice with Bong Joon-ho for Parasite, and I think it's going to be one of those two. Right now, I have Sam winning. Look, 1917. It was the directorial achievement of the year. It was just such a technical marvel. It's like the Life of Pi of the year. It's like the
Gravity, the Revenant,
Mad Max. It feels like that. So even if his movie won't win, I think he could definitely pull it off for director.
I think he could too. I have Bong in first place, although I have trouble with this one. Where we've seen Best Director and Best Picture splits, it has been films winning picture that aren't necessarily seen as like primarily directorial achievements. Like Spotlight is a journalism movie. It's not necessarily like an auteur kind of film the way we usually think of them. Every film that's really in it for Best Picture, like Once Upon a Time, Parasite, and 1917, are such directed movies that I feel like this could be maybe more like a Shape of Water year where these two pair up. But if it does, I'm not sure who to who. So I have Bong winning, and I think Parasite could win picture. I think Quentin could win this too. Like if this is a Once Upon a Time year, I could see him winning DGA. I can see not just comparing this to The Shape of Water, but also Birdman, which ended up sweeping the guilds. And then we thought there would be splits. Maybe they'll give someone else director. Maybe they'll give someone else screenplay. And they just gave it all to Alejandro González Iñárritu. So that could be the case with Tarantino this year, which would, if he wins all three, directing, writing, producing, that would bring him up to 5 Oscars in his career, because he already has 2 for writing. I think he's winning writing anyway, no matter what. So, I think this has the potential to be a Once Upon a Time sweep situation, though. Again, we're recording this before the guilds, so I'm going to put a big asterisk on that one for now.
Well, I think I do need to move Quentin up. I have him in 4th behind Scorsese in 3rd, and then Bong in 2nd. So I think I want to move him up, but I'm going to put him in 3rd. I think it really is going to be Sam or Bong that wins director. Even if once wins picture, I think it's going to be one of those two guys.
Which would be ironic because like the whole idea that Quentin Tarantino is due, like he could end up winning picture and screenplay and still not have a directing Oscar.
Yeah, it's true. I think he is winning screenplay, which we'll talk about if we have time later.
Yeah, we're at 13 minutes.
Best actress seems like it's Renee Zellweger. What did you say?
No, I said this will be quick-ish. This is the closest acting race, I think.
It is the closest, but the question is, I've heard some people say Saoirse Ronan's in 2nd, but I think Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, if it were up to me, like this award would go to Saoirse Ronan because I thought her performance was outstanding and she's really due after doing such great work. And Little Women did pretty well, but Marriage Story did just as well with 6 nominations. It has more acting nominations. Scarlett Johansson has 2 nominations this year. She's in 2 Best Picture nominees this year between that and Marriage Story and Jojo Rabbit. So I think if there's an upset, it's Scarlett, not anyone else. I can't imagine anyone else but Scarlett upsetting Renee. But I do think Scarlett needs to pull off a big upset soon. She needs SAG especially. I think she could do it, but I'm predicting Renee across the board at all events until I see otherwise.
I'm actually doing that with all 4 acting slots, all 4 acting contenders, actor, actress, supporting. I'm just, the 4 that won the Globe and the Critics' Choice, I think those are the 4. And, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but it seems like the safe bet to just pick those 4. And moving on, Best Actor is Joaquin Phoenix. He won the Globe, he won the Critics' Choice, and what was interesting was Best Actor is always one of the last categories of the night, but the Critics' Choice announced it. I think it was the first award of the evening, and you know why they did that, because Joaquin said, "Look, I'm going to come and I'm going to leave, so you need to do my category first." And he has that much clout that they moved it to the first category of the night.
And they gave him a vegan menu too, and he still didn't stick around. This category was really exciting for a while, and then it just really dramatically didn't get it. Because for a while it looked like, okay, it's going to be the big performance by Joaquin versus a big performance by Adam Driver, but at early on it looked like Adam Driver's going to be Marriage Story is going to be the stronger film overall in terms of Best Picture and other categories and other nominations. But just seeing not only Joaquin sweep everything, but Joker overperform everywhere, it's like it's almost impossible to the point that he loses this, just because the momentum for the film. If nothing else from Joker wins, Joaquin is virtually a lock, I think.
When I walked out of Joker, I said, he deserves to win, but he's not going to win. This movie's too divisive. But, I was wrong. He deserves to win, and he's going to win, which is very exciting. At other points in the season, I did have Adam Driver at first. He's having an incredible year with also The Report and Star Wars, and he has a singing scene in Marriage Story, and I'm like, he could pull it off. I thought that at one point, and I also thought at one point Eddie Murphy could do it. Of course, when he lost the Globe, all of his dreams were shattered, as were mine, Eddie.
I thought Antonio Banderas also had a shot earlier in the season. He's like, this veteran actor. He's never been nominated, but he's respected as an actor. He's a Tony nominee. He's an Emmy nominee. And this is his first Oscar nomination, but that just never caught hold in a way. And it's a very subtle performance up against very big performances. I'm looking at this Best Actor list. Joaquin is going big. Adam Driver is going big. Leonardo DiCaprio is going big. Jonathan Pryce is not going big, but he gets he's doing some more speeches in ways that Antonio's not doing. So it's the quietest performance. I just think it's all Joaquin at this point.
Go big or go home, Jonathan Pryce.
He should have put on the Joker makeup and done that weird dance at the Vatican or something.
Okay, kick us off for supporting actress.
Okay, supporting actress is Laura Dern next. It's an odd performance to be sweeping because she plays the divorce lawyer in Marriage Story. She doesn't really have that big of that character doesn't really have her own strong character arc. There's no real progression to that character in any way, but she's overdue. The competition laid out just so that no one else feels really that strong. Her film is up for Best Picture. This is the one place to reward it if you want to reward it. I'd be overjoyed for Laura Dern to have an Oscar, but I think in a few years we'll look back at this and be like, that role, really? It'll be a little bit odd that that's the one she won for, given, if you look at her last 5 years on just TV alone, thinking Big Little Lies and Twin Peaks: The Return, and even Recount about a decade ago, I think those performances will stand the test of time more than this one, but it'll be a case where, I'm glad you have an Oscar, even if it's for this role that's sort of, I think, in the middle of her filmography.
I actually have Jennifer Lopez winning this, and I know she's not nominated, but I still think she's going to win. I think there's going to be a write-in vote. I think there's so much love for her. All of a sudden, where was this love a year ago for J-Lo? But now there's love for J-Lo, and it was such a bummer that she didn't get it. But, of course, Laura Dern's winning this. And what's weird? Netflix had 24 nominations, more than any other, I was going to say network, but more than any other studio. And Gold Derby as a whole, we're only predicting them to win 2 categories. This one and documentary for American Factory. So if she loses this, they're only winning documentary. That just doesn't feel right. So, of course, they're winning this one.
So we've got about 50 seconds for Best Supporting Actor, which is probably all we need. Because this one feels a little bit easy, too. I can't see Brad Pitt losing this. For a while, I thought the Irishman men could threaten him. I thought really it would be Pacino, but Joe Pesci got a lot more love from the critics. And again, the Irishman just hasn't caught on anywhere. And so, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood doesn't have any other nominations. Two Popes has a few, but I don't see them really have urgency to give this one to Anthony Hopkins. 20 seconds. Who do you think is winning Best?
Yeah, the Irishman guys are going to split the vote, and it's going to go to Brad. And you know what, Brad? This is why you suck it up and go supporting. When you have a lead role like you did in Once Upon a Time, and, I think he was considering for a while, should I go down or not? This is why you go down.
Yeah, so that's 6. We got in 6 categories.
Cool. And thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you next time.